Hi, and welcome to episode 12 of Honest to a Malt with myself, Duncan, Mike, and this week we've got a special guest, our first ever guest. We're very excited, and that is Matt Mackay, aka the Dramble.
And now it's time for the main event of the podcast, presenting a man dramming out of Pinner in the UK, holding a professional whiskey record, the reigning Dunvale Director of Whiskey Creation and Outreach, and current Bimber Director of Marketing and Communications, a titan whose hair is business up front and party at the back. He's never met the Rocket Man, Elton John, one-time competition winner for painting tiny things, the undisputed hunter of decent horror flicks, and still known affectionately as the Dramble, Matt Mackay.
And Mike, what is the episode's name today?
Let's get ready to Dramble.
Genius.
Not
How
a
long
player.
did
You can't sue us. It's just completely unique, and we've just come up with it just now.
Plus, Matt, we reserve the right to change your voice through technology afterwards, so you sound a bit like Joe Pasquale.
Or put a Geordie accent on, just to
Yeah.
fit in with the title of the track.
So, welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Top stuff. He's in the spirit of it. So, Matt, it'd be really nice if you want to introduce yourself for people that aren't aware, don't know who they are. They probably live in a cave somewhere. But please introduce yourself for listeners.
Sure. Hi, Duncan. Hi, Mike. It's great to be here on with you. I'm honored to be your first ever guest. I can't believe you guys haven't had a guest and you've chosen me. So I'll have to try and live up to that. Hello to listeners. I'm Matt Mackay. I work for Bimber Distillery in London and Dunvale Distillery in Speyside in Scotland. That is due to open in the next few weeks, so busy. Those of you who do know me probably know me as the Dramble. We might get into why I am called the Dramble. There is a bit of an amusing story about that. So I started a whiskey website years ago. I don't write it as much as I really want to or should do. I'm a bit busy with
Building a distillery.
real whiskey work, I guess. Building a distillery,
as you do.
just working for two distilleries.
Just light stuff. Reading, reading
it's easy.
entertainment magazines and feet up on the coffee table, that type of stuff.
Yeah, it's easy. I don't do anything all day. But anyway, that website got fairly popular, and that brought me to the attention of Bimber. Long story short, I ended up doing a gig for them. My background is in engineering and biomedical PR. Been doing that for over 20 years. And Bimber offered me a job doing PR to combine my passion for whiskey with my expertise for promotion and talking rubbish.
You're fitting well.
Exactly, it's easy.
What have you let yourself in for today, Matt? Coming on this one. We sent you over the topics and you were like, what are we doing? Thanks for being game. Yeah. Appreciate it.
I'm always game. I'm always game until I'm not. And long story short, I helped them launch the Bimber the First. It went well, and so for a few years I did the biomedical PR gig alongside Bimber, and then with the advent of opening Dunvale, it was time for them to say, actually, Matt, there's quite a lot of work to do. How would you like to earn a lot less money than you used to? Doing a real job and come and work for two distilleries at the same time. And joking aside about the loss of income, I absolutely jumped at the chance. Completely reinvented what I'm intending to do with my life for the next part of my career. Yeah,
it's a pretty brave move. Though. Fair play.
Yeah, it's brave. Not many people would do that. Like jump from something safe that they know that they've been doing to something radically new for them. Right?
Yeah. And making it come off so well, to be fair.
Yeah, good shout.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it was to not dig too deep into it because this is a light entertainment show.
Plus, we're not psychiatrists or anything like that. So
there you go. So all I'll say is I needed to do it for my mental health.
Fair.
Just to my mental health career-wise, not day to day, but just in terms of feeling like I was doing something that I loved, that I was working on something that I passionately believed in. And so, yeah, moving into whiskey, I absolutely never intended to do it. I was just going to witter on the internet, write some stuff about this, hopefully provoke some discussion, and then all of a sudden, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
let's
You're
do it
living the
put
sort
my
of the
money
cliche
where
now
my mouth
where
is.
that,
Yeah.
if you enjoy your job, it's never really work. So you are there. That's kind of where you are
Yeah,
now.
that's it. They always say that, don't they? Say if you enjoy what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, right? Yeah. So
It's total rubbish. Because
feel, I was
I
going to
love it.
say,
I'm flat out.
work is work.
work is
But
work.
if you can wake up in the morning and at least feel excited and believe in what you do and be
Yeah.
excited for your day ahead, I'll take that.
Yeah, that's true. That's a win, right?
Mega.
So,
That's a win.
we should do what's in your glass.
Yes.
I think, Mike, it's your turn to.
I was going to say. So, quick one. Normally, it's obviously just me and Duncan, but I'll jump straight over to the guest and I'll say, Matt, what is in your glass?
Let's get ready to Dramble.
Let's get ready. Let's get ready. Let's get ready to Dramble. Hear us drink your dram. Hear us chat me drams. Hear us chat some Matt. Dramble.
Well, Mike, in my glass, I've pulled down a heel. This is a heel of Loch Lomond.
Nice.
It was bottled in July of 2020. This is a single cask release. This is the UK Championship at the Belfry First Fill Tawny Port heated release of 312 bottles at 53.4%. So yeah, peated port.
That got past
Peated
me.
port.
Love Peter
Yeah.
Port.
How's it going? What's it like?
I'd say it's decent. I wouldn't say that you're going to cry for missing it. It's a nice one. But with my reviewer hat on, I'd say I have had both better Loch Lomonds and better peated ports in my time. But I don't regret buying it. It's tasty enough.
Happy days.
Yeah.
Duncan, what are you sipping down on?
I'm having a second pour. Oh, by the way, heel, Matt. When you said heel, obviously heel of the bottle. It made me
heel
think
of the bottle.
Yeah, it made me think because I saw this week the Undertaker was in the news saying that Conor McGregor should become the greatest ever heel in wrestling. And it made me think when you said heel, I was like, oh yeah, heel of the bottom of the bottle, right? Here I'm drinking the Batiki Whiskey Company single malt Swiss malt, and it's that Santis Distillery one that I opened up from auction.
Oh yes.
Yep.
What do you think
Yeah,
of that?
Was it as good as I've had that one?
I remember.
Yeah, so it's 51.4%. It's 10 years old, and there was 916 bottles of it, 50 sil. It's quite kind of herbal and earthy, with some sweetness, and it's more herbal and earthy really on the nose.
You saying it's like a jumped up Jägermeister?
Yeah, there's a lot of balance between like the herbal and sweetness, the herbalness, the sweetness, the earthiness. So it's actually quite straight. It's quite. I've not had many single malts in the same ballpark as it, really, to be fair. So in that sense, very interesting.
I might have like sort of just jaded memories because I was well on the way when I tried it in Milroy's, and yeah, I just remember it being fantastic. So I think they probably could have bells in front of me at that point, and I would.
It's definitely got kind of
praises.
Like licorice herbal notes. It's quite syrupy on the palate. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like I'm glad I got a bottle. To be fair though, I did get it from auction, as we said before, at quite a substantial discount. So I think it was £40 plus fees. So can't go wrong.
No,
for that. Mike.
So as Matt's here, obviously, naturally, I pulled out a Bimber.
You absolute suck up.
Yeah, it's gotta be. I'm drinking out of a Bimber glass. I've got Bimber pants on, Bimber socks, Bimber top. No, so I've got the
technically called Bumber.
Yeah, love it. You need to sell those in the shop. It is the Southport Whiskey Club Winter Whiskey Festival release, if I can say it all go. And it's a fully Amontillado matured bottling. I think there was 114 of them, and it's 57.5%. And yes, it is lovely. I got a little dram of Amontillado sherry alongside it as well, so I'm sort of just going back and forth. Yeah,
Very
one of the really
sophisticated.
good releases that Bimber have done. You did a fair few with Southport Whiskey Club, haven't you?
Yeah, we've really supported their festival. They've been really supportive of us. They've shown us a lot of love, and yeah, it's an event that it's often me. I get out on the road. It's not always me behind the stand. We've got a little team of people. But Southport, I know those guys well, so it's an event that we do a bottling for, and then I'll get behind the stand and pour some whiskies for that lot. Usually, I think the last one was crazy. It was the beginning of the year, and it was in the coldest tent I've ever been in.
Right.
It was a good festival. I was busy, really excited people coming to see me. And then when everyone left, I couldn't even feel my legs.
You need to get those
It was Arctic.
electric undergarments that you wear.
Yes.
Yeah, get yourself plugged in.
Well,
Electrolyzed Bumba.
Yeah, I was going to say there's 2 additions to the Bimber's Bumba range.
Yeah.
Electric. No one else is doing electric undergarments in whiskey. I guarantee you that. I mean, get in it.
It's a captive market.
Yeah, but you've recruited a northerner now, haven't you, to deal with all the cold events? You've got Simon. Is he doing stuff for you?
Yeah, Simon, the whiskey novice, is he's great. He knows our range better than anybody. When you look at his crazy whiskey spreadsheet and see how many Bimbers he's actually tried, I don't think anyone outside of the distillery has tried more Bimber than that lad. So no, he does a great job, and yeah, just because he's a little bit less busy. Not to say he's not busy, but less busy than me, and a little bit more centrally based. Yeah, he helps us out.
Nice,
it's fantastic.
It just looks like he's always on holiday to me.
Yeah,
the guy's on holiday permanently.
It's quality.
I think you can say less busy. You can say less busy legitimately without that being a problem.
He's also living that life. Do you know what I mean? And I didn't realise he was a bit of a spreadsheet fan. I had no idea.
Yeah, everyone's been corrupted by malt musings. Everyone.
No, not us. We're like
good for you.
We're like the Faraday room of whiskey enjoyment. Nothing gets inside our boxed off experience.
Yeah,
we're not being corrupted by that. So you mentioned about how you got to be called the Dramble, and I feel like you should say,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, unless it's like a 10-hour story, in which case Mike's going to do loads of editing.
It's not a funny story in itself, but it does have a funny story related to it. So
you stole someone's identity during some sort of war.
If you look online, you'll find various people who have created a cocktail called the Dramble.
Right.
No, so the Dramble was preceded by and still is Dramble, so omitting the the. And that is the name of the whiskey club that I run out of my house bar each month.
Oh, right.
Can get about 16 people in there. Not all of them are dedicated whiskey geeks. A lot of them are dabblers. So it's a great fun to be educational, but also to relax on a Friday night with friends. Anyway, so so that's where it came from. So when I created the website, I was like, what am I going to call it? I'll stick a prefix on the front of it. It'll just be the Dramble. Great.
I had no idea you did that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. Yeah. I didn't know.
So that still runs. It's been running many years. But the first ever club meeting, I hadn't run a whiskey club before then. It was just a case of, right, what do we do? Okay, everybody, bring a bottle and we'll all taste them together and see what we think. We'll do some voting and other such whiskey club stuff. So we did all that, and it was great. I think we had about 10, 12 people for the first club meeting. And everyone was really excited and enjoying their whiskies. And it got to, there was about 3 of us left, and it was about 3, 4 in the morning at that point. The tasting had finished 6 hours ago. And at that point, we're like, right, I think it's bedtime now. So went up, curled up in bed next to my wife. At some time later, I've no idea where I was, who I was, or what planet I was on. A voice next to me said, "What are you doing in my bed, man?" And I looked,
right.
No.
and I was in my bed next to my wife, but I was sandwiched between my wife and one of my dramblers, and he was in the wrong bed.
I love it.
Okay. And then he compounded this by saying, "Oh, Oh, I'm desperately sorry. I thought I was at home, and I wandered off to the bathroom, and I appear to have got into bed with you.
And your wife.
And two things.
This sounds like the
And my
greatest
wife.
cover-up story of all time.
Yeah.
This is very
I
elaborate.
know.
This is a very elaborate. Everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
Every time anyone gets
So-
asked it, I bet you can tell the story in reverse.
So two particular things of note. One, he compounded it by saying, I'm so sorry. I'm also completely butt naked, which added to it. But the other thing was, I honestly think, guys, he'd been there for hours, and I hadn't noticed that this.
Oh, dearie me.
Yeah, I'm going to describe him as a larger bloke back then. This larger bloke is snuggled up next to me, and yeah, I didn't notice at all.
This is the closest we've come to filth on the pod. Just so you know,
love it.
we've never got this.
Yeah, you've
no one's ever
really
mentioned
dragged the
naked people
tone
before.
down.
You've really dragged it down. I'm going to be honest with you.
So, Matt,
From our
Mike said to
sandwich.
me, Mike said to me, let's get a highbrow guest to start off with. Let's get somebody really sophisticated.
what are you talking to me for?
Oh, I love it.
Oh,
That is
dear me.
quality.
So that's a great story. Thanks for sharing that.
That's right.
That makes sense now.
Yeah.
So what I thought we'd do is just do a wee bit of whiskey bingo. It's probably not strictly speaking bingo. Basically, whiskey buzzword bingo. So what I'm going to ask is you and Mike to write down just 3 of you think the most overused, most annoying whiskey marketing buzzwords, right?
Ooh,
And then we'll see if you guys have gone for the same or different. Let's do one at a time.
Yeah.
So in the unveil, Mike, you're going to say one.
Yeah.
And Matt, you say if you've got the same one or not. And if you've got the same word, then it's bingo. It's not strictly speaking bingo, but that's what I think of.
We'll go with it.
Yeah.
Right,
It'd be
ready?
more bingo if you guys dressed up as
X
maybe,
and O's? No, that's not.
I was going to say older ladies, but I guess everyone goes to bingo these days. Anyway, Mike, you go first.
So I've gone with the most overused word, smooth.
Oh yeah, that's a classic hallmark of proper 12.
Which
and under.
technically, there's nothing wrong with it in the right context, but I just feel like it's used everywhere for the wrong purposes. So it's marketing rubbish.
And Matt, did you also go for smooth, or have you gone for something else?
I've gone for something else.
Okay, all right. So what was your top one then?
So my top pick is limited.
Yes,
I've thrown my pen down in anger because that's so
you both
obvious.
hit my two most annoying things: is limited edition or limited run and smooth. They're the 2 words. I think they're probably the only 2 that really really annoy me because. Right. So, Mike, what have you got next?
Terroir.
And Matt, did you also have terroir?
I don't, but I have a play on it.
Oh,
Go
what have you
on.
gone for?
I've got transparency.
Oh.
Oh, right, okay.
This one grain of barley lived inside a little sheath of 20 others. They were all named individually. They grew up in a field in Norwich. And they were watered twice a day. I can tell you exactly what time they were watered. Bull.
Yeah. It was mountain spring water, and they've lived a lovely life. Yeah.
Yeah. You might be moving
All right.
on. You might be moving on to my next word there. That was a nice little link.
Go on then. What's your
Well,
my
my next one is I've gone with, it's kind of a play, but the natural water supply.
Right. Matt's nodding now. No, but if Matt nods, so far that's meant that he agrees but hasn't written it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Bimber has a real thing that we like to debunk what water is all about when it comes to whiskey, and it's a massive discussion point to the point where we get all our water from the Thames. Water does affect things. The minerality of the water will affect your ferment, but a lot of people, fellow marketeers, should I say, dumb it down to say the flavor of the water affects the flavor of the whiskey, and it's just not strictly true. The minerality of the water affects the potential flavor of the whiskey.
Right.
I think you might have told me that on a tour at Bimbo I did a while back, and I think
Probably.
all water was reduced to essentially zero content. So it's all, regardless of company that's distilling, all water that goes into the initial sort of fermentation process and things like that is identical because it's chemically reduced or scientifically reduced to nothing.
Yeah, that's a good shout. That's a good shout.
Yeah, there is quite a lot of processing that goes on. I mean, certainly when it comes to reduction in ABV, then it's potable water, and then it is absolutely neutral, absolutely identical. But yeah, you can't just take rainwater. You can take water where you like, but it needs to go through reverse osmosis at the very minimum to be ready to be used. So yeah, there's lots of things you can say about water, but the flavor of water, in my opinion, is misleading.
Yeah,
but no, I was just nodding because I was agreeing with Mike. I don't have it on my list.
If you two were reflecting, then I've already said that the two words that most.
I want to know Matt's third. What's Matt's third?
Oh yeah,
I got one more. So my one's a bit more esoteric, and it's one that I personally don't like. It's experiential.
Experiential.
Oh, yeah. Is that the experience? I don't even know what that is.
Of anything. It's just when basically any type of company, but we'll talk about whiskey companies. Whiskey company has got something for you to look at or touch or smell, and it's about the experience, the experiential. It normally just means watch the video and have a drink.
Yeah, I can think of a very big company that takes that tact. Okay, that makes sense. And which, like, of them, is there any others you want to add? Like, you said you had more than 3.
I got loads.
Pick out a couple of the other ones that really grind on. Just get it off your chest. I mean, we've already established this.
We're here to listen to you.
Yeah, it's fine.
Sure. Oh, thanks. Special. C limited.
Special.
Okay. Special / limited edition. Yeah, that's pretty
extra.
Good.
Extra.
Oh, extra aged.
Extra aged, extra flavor, extra matured, extra special. You can add extra to any of the extra experiential.
Start linking them together. An experiential experience of smooth, extra flavored whiskey with
water.
From a unique terroir.
With special water.
Alongside a natural flowing waterfall.
Truly transparent. Yeah, go for it.
Engagement.
Yeah, engagement's generally an annoying word anyway, I think sometimes.
It just doesn't mean... I mean, basically, people have a chat to someone and they're engaging.
I feel like you
can engage you can engage in good and bad ways.
Yeah, I was going to say, the buzzwords kind of drop off once we get into the sort of the world of certainly independence and single malt, like yourselves, locally made. Maybe. I mean, it's the problem is that you are, as a marketeer, you are trying to make something appealing and you're trying to sell something. Yeah. And as much as there are plenty of people on whiskey social media who are saying, "Oh, whiskey marketing should be a certain way," and I understand what they're saying. Actually, whiskey marketers do know what they're doing, and although we all get annoyed by what they're doing, the proof is in the pudding, and it works, and bottles of whiskey sell. So, it's one thing saying, "I'm upset with this. This isn't realistic. It's a bit bullshitty." That's fine. It's another thing saying it's wrong. I would argue that it's not.
Oh yeah, we're not saying it's wrong. We're just saying maybe things that you.
No, I'm not saying about you guys, but there are. I've had some Twitter discussions where I've said, "Look, it doesn't work this way," and I've been told, "Well, it does," and I'm like, "Well, okay,
it does. I'm telling you."
Yeah, you're like, "It's my job," but sure, whatever. Yeah. Sure. People need to flip it around. So we're gonna Dragon's Den pitch to you in a moment, and you're already getting me thinking. What about if it was? It's not smooth. Our single malt is not smooth because you feel it, right? Like at some point, some people are going to go the other way. Some people will go the other way.
It's not smooth. It's rugged. It's taking you on a journey. You're going rock climbing,
rough roads.
I think Duncan's already done it. He's come up with the buzzword, and it's the buzz phrase, and it's because you feel it.
Yeah,
that's it.
Boom.
Bumper underpants. It's because you feel it.
Right.
I was going to go for meths, but the same difference.
Meths because you feel it.
Because you need it.
Yeah. What are you getting on? Hey, what are you getting on the nose there?
Burn.
It's a bit overwhelming. So, have you ever watched Dragon's Den, or in other countries it would probably be called something like Shark's Tank or whatever? Have you ever watched Dragon's Den, Matt?
Yes.
All right. So, which dragon would you like to be today?
I'm going to be retail magnate Theopophetus.
Oof, one of the old school ones. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I have to change my tack now. I know that.
Yeah, a little
Rejig
bit.
my figures.
He's in.
Did you think I was going to be Peter Jones?
Standard Waitrose. You know.
Yeah.
He's tech. He's tech, though. He's tech.
Well, he's a lot of things, isn't he? Yeah. I suspected you might be Deborah Meaden, but obviously I was wrong.
Only on Wednesdays.
Hey, she's out of everybody. She's the person that's most environmentally conscious and all that kind of stuff. You know.
Is she?
So, yeah, 100%. I think so. Yeah, she's really into
the environment and that.
Well, considerate packaging and yeah. Anyway, so what I'm going to do, Matt, is I'm going to describe us coming up because obviously you can't watch it on TV; it's not really happening. And then we're going to do a short pitch for you, and let's see if we can get your investment money. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm just looking for some money to invest, but I'm ready.
It's just pretend. It's not real. We're not really. And you'll.
It's not contractually binding.
Yeah.
That is reassuring.
We're going to come out of this owning Dunfell.
I don't think a lot of them are contractually binding. I've often wondered why they don't all just put the money in because then they find a way to get out of it afterwards. If they could just invest in every single one and then find a way to get out of it afterwards.
Probably because that would make terrible television.
That's why I'm not on TV. That's why I'm not a TV producer. All right, so we're coming up the lift into the studio.
Imagine the music playing. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, slightly sweaty foreheads. This is a big deal to us. We've worked our whole lives towards this moment. Now, Mike is wearing blue faded jeans, Converse All Stars. He's got a blonde fake beard on, which for reasons I don't understand, and he's wearing red tinted sunglasses. I'm wearing a suit because I'm taking it seriously. So we come up and the doors open and we come out. And obviously you're sat there with a pile of money. So we are here today, Matt, to pitch to you our new independent bottler business called the Funka Funk Bottling Company. We would like to show you our products and talk to you about why we're going to make a lot of money. My name is Duncan, and this is my business partner, Mike.
Hello, I'm Mike.
Thanks, Mike. It's great. We're making good progress here. So all of our bottles, we unveil them for you to see. They all have different labels on them, and this is our first range, our launch range. And each label is around the theme of flipping. So one has a picture of somebody flipping burgers on it. The other one has dolphins on it. Everything's to do with flipping. All of them are they're. I'm not sure why you're laughing there, Matt. This is serious. This is life-changing for us.
This could flip my life on its head.
All of our bottles are from Dunnage warehouses. None of them are finishes. They're all full maturations. We've got a range of 8, and we're here to ask for 1.64 million Venezuela, Bolivia, something, which is about £50,000. What would you like to know about our business?
Okay, so you want quite a large amount of monopoly money.
Well, for 1% of the company, just to be clear, 1%
just
of the
for
company.
1%.
1%.
Yeah, 1%. Yeah,
1%.
Future value. Not now.
Okay. Well, we'll come to your balance sheets in a minute. Thank you for introducing the concept. You do look a little bit different. One of you looks like you're taking it seriously. The other one looks like they're about to go off to Benidorm, but we'll move past that. So why have you created a series of whiskies around the concept of flipping things? Do you just like tiddlywinks?
It's funny you should mention that. We did come up with the idea whilst we were playing board games. It just seems to be that we thought we would take a tongue-in-cheek look at the bottling market, and we're going to get hold of some very high-end, desirable whiskey. We haven't got hold of it yet, to be clear, but we're going to get hold of some very high-end desirable whiskey. And so what we've done is we've already designed the bottles so that you can see what the whiskey's going to go into.
Which I feel that's half the battle, just getting a good design.
Just getting the glass,
artwork,
getting the labels on there. Yeah, it's pretty much it, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it is part of the battle. Do you boys think it's sensible to have done all the design and the conceptualization and the packaging before you've actually obtained
Definitely.
any of this?
Yeah, we've gone so far with the packaging that we've actually decided we're going to put 2 labels in with each bottle, because to make sure bottles can't be flipped, we're going to write the names of everyone that buys a bottle on them. Just in case we've spelt it wrong, we're going to include a second label they can stick over it and then write their own name. Or if
That's
they,
correct.
Just so they can't sell it on and write their own name, just
we're going to do
2 labels.
We've already, you haven't asked us about the marketing campaign, so I'm just going to share. But the marketing campaign is predominantly focused on taking pictures of these bottles in trees. It's just a lot of pictures of bottles in trees. Yeah.
You've done your research, and you obviously know about my proclivity for bottles up trees. I'm a particular fan of such things.
I did hear on the grapevine that is something you particularly like for. So yeah, we have gone out and shot I think it's 2,500 images in different trees each time, just so we can post a new photo every day with a different tree. And then we're going to use the hashtag bottle tree. That's how I see the future.
We've got no sales yet, and we're running at a loss currently. But I think are you? What's the projections, Mike? Lots of money, I suppose.
It's projected that with your investment and the ability to use your name on the bottles massively, we're
really
going
to open some doors for us and do a lot of the work, basically.
4 billion is a conservative estimate of what we're going to make in the first month.
That's in Venezuelan currency, though, to be fair. So you have to divide that by something like around,
I think it's £50.
Yeah, probably.
We're going to come out month 1, £50, but then from there it's that the sky is the limit.
So,
okay,
what are you thinking? You're going to invest?
Okay, I am going to make you an offer.
Good. I'm so nervous.
I'm going to offer you 1% of the money.
Yep.
Yeah.
For 1.8 billion % of your business.
Right. I see what you've done there.
I'm going to ask you to change it around, because I think you boys are onto something here.
Yeah.
But I think that with my help, we can flip the market around.
Okay.
Because no one has yet put a tree inside of the bottle.
Oh, yeah. Tree inside a bottle, Matt. Great shout.
Rather than putting bottles on the trees, we should put the trees inside the bottles.
I can already see the marketing campaign with you too. We can get a tree and name it Joshua and shove them inside a bottle.
People used to put ships inside bottles, didn't they? But I guess they've stopped that now. Or
they made them bigger. That's why they didn't fit.
That's true. And that's when people got bigger, because people used to be smaller.
Yeah. Right.
Right. I'm getting the sense you're not going to get any investment here. I've just cracked open. I've just pulled myself a Springbank handfill from Paul. Thanks to Paul. And I think we should get on with asking you some proper questions.
That would have been better if they did included a second label, and then he didn't have to write Paul. He could have just put a sticker over it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking about just basically getting one of those white Tipex things. And then what I do is I'm just going to keep Tipexing out and writing somebody else's name from social media on it, and then just leave it in shots.
So just put Bert Smedley.
Yeah, just Bert. Yeah, or whoever, like any people, and then just leave it in a shot and just see people go, "Hang on, was that person's bottle?"
Flipped. It's been flipped.
Yeah.
I have seen such things, and I have recently seen some bottles. I don't know if it's you, Duncan. I think it might have been someone put something to auction, and they'd done the worst job of blotting out their name ever.
Oh yeah, that was
you
me.
could still read it. You could still read it very clearly through it. It's like,
was that your?
Why bother?
Was it your Peter or Paul? It sounds like a Bible story.
Peter. That was Peter, and this
bottle
was Paul. And I'm actually trying to complete the collection. I'm after John and any other biblical names.
We've got the Catholic collection.
I
very provide you one with Matthew on it.
Yeah, Matthew. I have very specific requirements when I'm shopping at auctions, so only certain named bottles will do.
Oh, love it.
Oh dear me. Right, Matt. Thanks for being a good sport there. That's appreciated. Where to start with? We thought it would be nice to ask you what 3 whiskies you would have behind a bar or pub if you had to pick 3, but also it would be lovely to hear what mezcal you would pick to have behind a bar of a pub, and also one craft beer as well, because
we've thrown those in.
Beer as well.
Keep you on the edge.
just
No,
it's
it's all
so
good.
difficult
It's
to
all
just
good.
pick a couple. But it's like if you were going to a pub and they were going to have 3 whiskeys, 1 mezcal, and a craft beer, what would you love them to have, and what would you love for other people to be able to try?
So I did give this a little bit of thought, at least on the whiskies, when you invited me on. And I've really thought about it from what other people should try. So my answers are, I'm going to say really boring, unfortunately.
That's all right.
If you want to ask me what I want on a bar, that's a very different question. But answering your question, what 3 whiskeys should be on a bar?
Yeah.
I'm going to say that the first whiskey should be Monkey Shoulder.
Yes. Mike, you said Monkey Shoulder as well, didn't you?
Shoulder, yeah.
And the main reason for that is simply the type of environment that it's being served in and the versatility of that whiskey. So, I could have come on and said, right, I think it should be a ultra cask strength, niche, independent bottling, super industrially peaty, the sort of thing that I'll get my chops around on a Tuesday evening. And that's going to sit on the shelf and everyone's going to hate it. So what you need is whiskies in a bar, in a pub, that are going to suit all different needs and different clienteles. And Monkey Shoulder, in my opinion, does that. It's perfectly fine on its own. It's inoffensive. It's not going to set your world alight. Equally, stick it with a mixer. It's perfectly fine. It's inoffensive. It's not going to set your world alight.
Yeah, it's a good
what
choice.
You need.
I think it's a good choice.
You need.
So, what are your other 2 then?
I would next move into the single malt range, and I would go for Glenmorangie 10-year-old.
Oh, right.
So
yes, that's what my local has.
I'm picking whiskies that you will see in pubs because I think they should be there, and this will very much sort of juxtaposition against my third pick. Which I'll reveal now and then talk about both of them. So my third pick is Laphroaig 10-year-old. And I just think as a pub, bearing in mind that you're not appealing to, the Twitterati or the whiskey nerds, you've got Glenmorangie 10-year-old, accessibly priced, light. It's Glenmorangie, so it's orangey. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Easy going. And then you've got Laphroaig, which... yeah, the ABV is low, the bottle is accessible, but that flavor, whenever I meet people and they say, my first whiskey was Laphroaig 10, I had it when I was 11 years old, and I've been a whiskey fan ever since.
That's me.
Are you sure? Really? I mean, I'm sure in a couple of odd cases that is true, but I think for most people...
it's quite intense.
It's rubbish.
It's a very intense.
It's intense.
It's very intense. It's super intense. I remember being younger, and of all of the Islay whiskies, it was the one that I found too intense. Right, and
I'm the oddball then, clearly.
No, but I mean, you didn't start drinking whiskey until about 6-7 years ago.
Yeah, true.
Some of us were drinking it with our dads. And our clueless dads, and just having a crack at anything, and just
or legends.
Going, this is there is a lot going on. This is a quite in your face, right? So I agree with Matt there.
So for me, those 3 whiskies, they, in the context of whiskey nerdery, no one's going to get excited about any of them, but I would stand on my soapbox and tell you that those 3 in their own right are fantastic whiskies. They're also whiskies that if someone goes to the pub and they buy, they're not going to cost the world. And if they want a bottle, they can easily get a bottle because they're available, and the bottle's not going to cost the world. So
true.
It's a very different question. If you said you're in your dream whiskey bar, what 3 whiskeys do you want? That's an absolutely different question. But
not dream whiskey.
Pub,
but if you were going to go, if you were going to pick one that you think, if it was a whiskey Twitterati pub, right?
Yeah, well, say there's a 4th dram in that pub. So you've gone through like your Monkey Shoulder, you got your Glenmorangie, you got Laphroaig. There's one more to cater for more of a nerd. What are you having?
Yeah, someone who's tried all the other 3 and likes a higher ABV.
Just looking for a little bit more, not going bonkers, just a little bit.
Whatever.
Whatevs, yeah.
So the next stage up, if we're still in that same pub, same clientele, I would throw up Highland Park 18 on that bar.
Right, okay. So I wouldn't have
a little bit more age, a little bit more ABV. Again, not pushing into the realms of that's crazy. And I can speak from some experience, talking about the Dramble Whiskey Club. I've had people, I like whiskey, Matt. Can I come along? Yes. What do you know about whiskey? Answer, Very little, but
Yeah.
you like a few whiskies.
Mm-hmm.
What have you tried? Very little. Okay, try this. Yeah, I like it. Try this. Here's what I think is a really exciting, great whiskey. Head explodes. Too much on the palate, too much ABV, too much going on, too left field. And yeah, I'm sitting there going, oh, I'm gutted. I think this is amazing. But that person hasn't trained themselves. And you can't just come into whiskey and it's a mistake. I see a lot of people doing it. The amount of people have come into whiskey in the last 5 years and in lockdown, and they feel pressurized by going on social media and seeing what other people are doing.
Yeah.
And they're missing out on the journey. The whole point for me of whiskey is the journey, the progression. And so they're diving in. They're going, right, I've tried a 30-year-old this. I've tried. I don't think that they have the context to really put that into that broad spectrum. And sometimes they end up working backwards and then go, oh, this isn't as good. Well, of course it's not.
For me, it's been more like an exponential curve. I've been getting more and more into it over time. I remember we used to mostly drink 10s, 40%, 43% ABV for years. And then a whole range of stuff, like a Speyside Isla, mostly Speyside Isla, a couple of odd Highland, nothing else really other than outside of Scotland, at the odd Japanese one. And then when you get something like a Highland Park, I remember one of my friends, Colin, shout out Colin, he got for his dad, I think his dad tiled our bathroom at the time, so he got in like a Highland Park 21.
Nice.
Trying that.
Nice.
And, just trying that at the time, just going, oh my goodness me, this is insane.
Yeah.
This is like
Next level.
a million times better
Yeah.
than what we've been drinking. Like, it's just a completely different ballpark. So much going on in it compared to what we're used to. And then I remember distinctly us discussing that and just going, there's something in this expensive whiskey. But then at the time we were only 24. We went back to drinking cheaper whiskey.
Yeah.
Right? Just being honest. That's 16 years ago, but that's what happened. So I get what Matt's saying.
That's that magic moment that sort of Matt was referring to, where you take that leap and go, what? It's like you mentioned at the London, the whiskey show, where your mate tried the Kalila.
Oh my God, mine was blown. Yeah,
Murray McDavid, and I said his eyes.
We had to call an ambulance for him.
What is that?
Yeah,
like you could see on his face, it was confusion. It was just joy.
Also, it was a Tokai. It was that Tokai cask, and they can really make a whiskey sing.
Right? It is good because you could see like the money just leaving his life because he's now just got into a really expensive habit.
No, he's not allowed to. He's not allowed to. He's gone straight back down to work. But he has that. Well, I think he's probably had that moment removed from his memory by his other half.
We'll just keep implanting it. Keep going.
Yeah,
more. Just send him samples in the post secretly.
Well, he could have had 6 whiskey tasting glasses, but he gave me most of them back. Right? For our 1 or 2 people that live in Mexico and everybody else that likes mezcal, what would you pick for a pub? If you were going to pick them,
sure. So again, it's a pub. So what I would pick would vary. In the same way that I've suggested Lefroy and Glenmorangie as opposed to other crazy things. So I would pick something from a bottler called Del Maguey. They are a common mezcal bottler, sourcing all sorts of different magueys. Those are effectively the varieties of the agave plants that are used for distillation. And they're commonly available everywhere. A lot of the mezcal that I get is super small batch. Some of it's like 1 of 20 bottles.
Really?
Really crazy. Because these tequila often is made on a big industrial scale using big cookers and loads of it. And it's only made from one type of maguey, Blue Weber. So one plant. Yeah. Whereas mezcal is made from, I think, 40 or 50 different varieties. And it's often made in basically out the back of people's houses. They dig a big clay pit. Yeah. They put the peanuts, the hearts, the plants, where all the convertible sugars are. They bury them under coals. That's where the smokiness comes from. It's not peat, it's coal. And they process it and they put it through their little stills. Sometimes the stills are they're made of clay, which adds a whole different dimension. And then they go, look what I made, and it's like 4 pints or something like that. And
they stick it in plastic next to the roadside.
Yeah, they stick it in plastic because they're making it not commercially. They're making it for their community. So
I want to just share a wee thing with you. So I did a road trip around Mexico. I won't go into detail, but as part of that road trip, we were there for a few weeks, I don't know, 3 weeks, did try quite a lot. But I was ruined by, and this is similar to my experience of rakia in Serbia, I was ruined by basically drinking like, it must cost like $2, $2.50, like this bottle of roadside mezcal, and it was incredible. And after that, when I'm over here, I look at the prices and I go,
how?
It's very expensive, because really, I know how good the stuff at the roadside was, right? And I'm sure it's not all that good, but it was exceptional. I mean, really exceptional. And we did try throughout the trip, at bars and different places, others, but that was probably the best one of the trip. And it was like $2.50 or $2 or something ridiculous. And I was just like, and the other thing is, I can't drink tequila. I think it's from when I was younger and whatever. But the point is, I don't really like tequila, but I do really like mezcal.
I think the smoky element, I might be incorrect, is actually something, it's an impurity to them. They don't want it in there. It's just in the form of, in the process of making it.
It's not necessarily. I mean, you will find that some mezcals are more smoky than others. You will find that depending on the variety of agave used, that the pairing of the agave, the equipment used, and the smokiness either presents it as more or less. But no, I wouldn't say that they see it as part. It's simply part of a tradition. It's how it's processed.
Right.
But no, they don't try to ferment or strip out that smoky flavor. And not all mezcals are that smoky. Some of them are, they're a bit charcoaly. Some of them it's barely there, and then the real natural distillate quality, which is why I got into mezcal really. I was doing my distiller's qualifications, and I thought, hold on a minute, I know all about how to make this, and I've only probably tried about 4 or 5. And I've spent the last sort of 3 or so years rectifying that and trying an ungodly number.
I think the only one I've tried is Mezcal Union Uno. I don't know if you've come across that one. And
there's so many.
I bought that and thought, this is really good, really like this, and told my mate about it. And on my stag do in Madrid, every single bar just had it everywhere. And I was like, clearly I've bought the popular mezcal, which probably isn't great, but he bought so much of it in shots, I can't drink it anymore. So I'm
not sure. It's a sipping drink.
Yeah, it's a sipping drink. He's ruined it for me. So yeah,
it's a drink to sip and enjoy and savor.
So yeah, for the pub, I'd probably look to Del Maguey, just because the prices are better than some of them. But I would definitely look to an Espadin, which is for the particular type of agave plant. It's the most common, but that's not to say it's the most common in the sense it's basic. There's a difference between agave plants that are harvested and those that are wild. And when you start to get out into the remote parts of Oaxaca, you've got plants growing off the sides of hills and rocky bits, and that's not really sustainable to be trying to strip mine those, and that is a big problem for mezcal. As the spirit goes in popularity, people are trying to just strip mine it all, and these plants, it's not like barley that they're seasonal. Some of these plants are taking 15, 20 years before.
It's like cutting down a small tree, right? Before it's ready.
It's not great. And the other part of this is quite a lot of the wilder mezcals are their flavors can be a bit berserk. You can get intense earthiness, intense minerality. So for a pub, I would definitely recommend something like an Espadin. Equally, mezcal in the pub's really difficult because people are either going to think it's mescaline and they're going to get off their faces because they've confused the words, or they're just going to go, oh, it's tequila. Where's my lime and salt? And they're going to try and shoot it. So I don't. If I was running a pub, I don't know. Unless I started to do a little bit of mezcal education in there, it's probably not top of my list for stocking.
Yeah, we get it. Anyway, you've made a recommendation anyway.
There you
go. You want to do craft beer, or you want to move on?
No, I'll do a quick one on craft beer. So
go on then.
The craft beer suggestion.
You're super passionate about craft beer, aren't you? Right? I think.
I love craft beer in the sense that I don't write about it. I don't score it. There's
stress-free drinking.
Just enjoy it.
It's literally something which, if someone says, "Oh, what do you think about this?" I can pontificate it for about hours. but I don't have to. So I just enjoy it. I've been a home brewer for many, many years, and I just really admire the links between what brewing does, where fermentation is just so important. And what a lot of what I would say the craft distilleries are doing, or even some of the big boys with some of the experimentational stuff that they're realizing that, or they know, and they're leaning into, that distillation only reinforces the flavors you created in fermentation. So all this kind of 4 days and done, I guess. But you look at other cultures, and for my example, beer, just because I quite like beer too much, and you see how much effort they put into the fermentation stage, and you realize, wow, A, this is really important, and B, the incredible diversity of flavors that you can get just from that one stage. So, yeah, I love me some craft beer. It's what I have at the end of the day, particularly a day when I've been doing cask assessment or writing labels. The first time writing a label was amazing.
That was
fun.
just for people listening. That was
all these
sigh.
ones.
That was a real sigh there.
That's genuine.
I reckon I've written about 200 labels now.
Yeah.
And
do you have to sign autographs with people yet?
No.
Okay.
Well, I don't want to because
I'll make that happen.
No, don't bother, because Mike will just stick another label on top of it. Waste of time. So anyway, a beer pick. It's not necessarily one that is realistically going to be in a pub, but I'm just going to give them a shout out because they were important for me and my love of beer. And it goes to Manchester's Cloudwater.
Right. Okay.
They're fantastic brewery. Very much been doing all sorts of different styles, but I came to them years ago when they were pioneering a UK version of what's known as a Vermont style, a New England hazy beer. So you've probably seen these sort of unfined, really cloudy beers, utter fruit bombs. Yeah,
So would you recommend that then? Like, so I haven't tried that. So would you recommend us to get that Manchester
Cloudwater?
Cloudwater.
I'm
okay.
googling
find
it.
Find a Cloudwater.
I tend to stick to stouts and ales. But I guess I've not really got into the really super experimental stuff.
Still love my stouts and ales, particularly as the price of things is so expensive nowadays that just buying some ales from the supermarket isn't a bad shout. But if you've never tried one of these sort of proper craft new wave beers,
I have. I might have tried a couple, but I don't think I've not really.
Have you got a favourite?
I'm seeing more and more of it these days. So Manchester Cloudwater, that's the one I'm going to get hold of.
Have you got a favourite release from them?
The problem is with a lot of these breweries is they don't do core ranges. They just do lots of different things. So
limited edition, special.
Well, one-off brews.
Yeah, super transparent.
I mean, certainly beer labels. If you think some of the whiskey marketing can get a bit wanky.
Hey, is anyone taking pictures of beer cans in trees?
Just they should be.
Are people taking pictures of beer cans in trees? Or is it just whiskey?
If not, why not? I'll show you something.
I'm seeing a.
Pull your trousers back up, Mike. Trousers back up.
People listening won't be able to see this, so you just have to describe it. But there is innovation going on in beer, and this is probably my favourite one. This is from a brewery called Northern Monk.
I've heard of Northern
Monk. So here's your can,
and I've drunk some. Right, that's cool, isn't it? So just for people listening,
of your information,
Matt's pulled the label off from the can, and it's still attached, and it rolls in and out. Yeah, it rolls in and out. It's a sticky label.
It's
and on the
essentially
inside of the label
like
is extra information.
It's like medication.
All the information.
You know the medication bottles where you peel the label back and it tells you how to take it, what you need to do, and then it goes back over. That's brilliant.
I think that's cooler than having a QR code to go somewhere else.
Exactly.
It's better to hold it in your hand, isn't it?
Yeah, you're like, scan this, go to the website, read it. Oh, do that. Never do.
That's
all of the brewing information, all the stuff actually in your hand whilst you're drinking. Oh, what's cooler. This?
Watch this, Space Caller. Is
very interesting.
Is that going to be appearing at a new Scottish distillery soon?
Maybe.
Like it.
Right. Well, thanks for sharing your thoughts on whiskies behind a pub, mezcal, craft beer as well. That was interesting. We'll seek out your recommendation on the beer for sure. I thought it would be nice to ask you what your favourite Bimber release has been today, if you can say. You know, if it's a bit too, because you've had so many, maybe if it's a bit too crazy to answer, but if you can, I think there's lots of people that'd be really interested to hear what one of your favourites was. Right?
I'm going to give you two, but for very different reasons. So my favorite Bimber release is last year's club release, the Imperial Stout cask.
All right.
And the only reason for that is that that was my project. I made that one. And it came about by happenstance. I was having a beer, as we just discussed, and I was at Brew by Numbers in Bermondsey, and I was just sitting down with my mate Danny, who does all the tech for the Dramble website. And a guy comes along with a baby strapped around his shoulders in a Brew by Numbers branded baby grow and says, do you mind if I just sit with you and we do some promo photos? And I said, yeah, sure. And we got chatting, and that guy was Tom. He's the owner of Brew by Numbers, and he's a beer guy who loves whiskey, and I'm a whiskey guy who loves beer. And so it all began.
A beautiful relationship blossomed.
I sent him six empty casks that we used to make batch 3 of Bimber X Bourbon, batch number 3. He put a roughy tufty 11% Imperial Stout into it, and they produced that barrel-aged stout. I took the barrels back. We put some X Bourbon back into it for about 10 months, and then out came that whiskey. And yeah, I saw it featured on Blind Drams.
Yeah.
And
actually, Mike and I both really liked it.
Loved it.
We loved it.
I was so happy because
Mike actually called it as a Bimber.
I went Bimber.
Which was very cool.
I saw it was you, and there was one other person who just said, "I'd swear this is a Bimber." And I was like, "Good."
And actually,
I mean,
shout out also
Blind Drams is a funny one because you know, half the people on there, I don't know if they even actually really like whiskey deep down.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah. Now they've slated it.
Yeah. So to be fair, I was really excited. We can't talk about this too much because obviously we already talked about it last pod. But I was really excited about doing beer finished whiskies for the group, and it mostly got pretty low average scores. And I found that really surprising because it makes the whiskey maltier. And generally I liked all of them, but then I wasn't tasting them blind. But also I'm pretty sure there were some floral notes in that Imperial Stout.
Yes.
And I found that
you
don't get those that much in whiskey, and I just felt that was pretty cool, and I kind of like the flavor profile. When I had that, and I had already tried that at a Bimber distillery tasting, when I tried it the first time, I was like, maybe this is all right. And then I went back to it because we were allowed to have another pour, and I got a bit more free time just to get to know it. And then I was like, this is excellent. And then I called up, and somebody at the distillery was very helpful, and they managed to source me a couple of bottles for it for Blind Drams because it's no longer on sale sort of generally. I was really excited about that. That's why I put it fourth in the lineup. But I think that our learnings from that generally were that people didn't appear to be too much into stout finishes. But I think often people are after kind of sherried whiskies, and I hadn't put in your sort of classic peated whiskies really, which people are often after in the second half of the flight. So that's my bad.
Beer finished whiskies are they're not everyone's bag because not everyone likes the flavors of beer, and B, they're not what people think. And I think my Bimber Imperial Stout is an example of that, in that it has picked up quite a lot of that sort of dark chocolate malt, that roastiness, cocoa, those type of notes. But even surprising to me is it's picked up what I would identify as some of the hop character in those sort of floral grassiness. And I find that absolutely fascinating because stouts don't have that much hops in.
No.
You know, you're only using hops when you're doing the boil. So when you're making beer, you have effectively, unless you're getting really bonkers with it, you have 2 stages for hopping. So you have the boil, so you wet hops, and then you have afterwards during ferment or after ferment or at some point then you dry hops. Stouts only tend to add a very light sort of bittering hop into the boil. So the fact that that beer had been in there, the hops are there, but they're so at the back, and yet when you put the whiskey cask in there, the whiskey in there, okay, there's the roastiness, there's the chocolateness. Oh, where's that floralness from? It's literally from the hops, and that surprised me that it managed to pick up and extract that. And that's going to be an interaction with the particular compounds that are within the beer and the hops, and their interaction with both the wood and the spirit, that it wants to extract those over and above other flavors. And I found that personally fascinating.
Do you think it's because it's maybe like the spirit obviously is pushed far more into wood than beer, even if it was aged in cask, ever would. It's getting probably things out of the wood that it wouldn't normally interact with. So it's going to create something a bit crazy.
Probably. The spirit, you're right, Mike.
It needs to be higher. The higher the ABV, the better in what's been in the cask, isn't it? Generally, you don't want to have too low ABV. So the stout's better, isn't it? Really, that's what I thought. But it turns out that people were. I think people like the IPA the best, didn't they? Anyway, what's the other? We loved it. What's the we can legitimately say that other, But what was the other whiskey that you
So the one I'm going to pick. So that one was my pick simply because it was my baby. But I'll give you a pick for the question that you're asking. And my pick is another Southport one, but it's the first one, which I think from memory was cask 126. It's behind me somewhere. I think it was that one. You can look it up. I think it was about that. Our first Southport festival exclusive, 127. Oh, so close. Cask number 127. American Oak ex-bourbon cask. Those people who know me will know that although I like playing around with casks and I hate all wine casks other than the ones that are amazing.
Oh, you literally said wine cask perverts, which I thought is an interesting side.
Wine cask perverts.
I'm hiding again.
Mike's one of those. He literally says to me sometimes, he goes, Duncan, I just love wine cask finishes. And I'm like, why? That's crazy.
Shove everything in a Rioja barrel. Yes.
It feels like playing Russian roulette, where only one of the 6 bullets. So 5 of the 6 are bullets, and 1 is a free, but not got a bullet in it. That's what wine casks is like. And you literally 5 in 6 times you're shooting yourself in the head. It's just too risky.
I think it's risky, and I think it's risky for 2 things. And Mike's right. You stick a Rioja barrel and you get all of it, and that for me is the problem. You get all of the acidity, and a lot of people talk about acidity, but you do hear people talking about tannins, and that's my problem with wine casks. That I often find them that they're so overexposed to that wine that the level of acidity and the level of tannins is just compounded, and I just find them like the flavor. I don't find the flavors unpleasant. I don't want to drink a pint of water after having a dram because my mouth is so dry. I just don't want that.
Mike, I'm gonna get you a T-shirt that says "Whiskey Pervert" on it because it's now official.
I'm just trying to justify it.
What's wrong with Mike? What's wrong with your palate? Somebody like Matt.
No, everyone's palate's different. No, you can't say that. Anyway, back to bourbon. So there's so many different casks out there. I honestly think in some ways that those horizons of whiskey have been well tapped. The days of we did this, we moved it to that, we put it in this. I don't think there's much more for the whiskey industry to do in that realm. Let's see what the industry comes up with in terms of true innovation forwards. But anyway, my palate has steadily developed over the years. And although I do like, the occasional foray, even into an occasional surprisingly acceptable perverted wine cask, my general mainstay is bourbon. Normally full bourbon.
Ex-burbs.
And I've had this conversation with a lot of people, and it just seems to be not it's a generalization. It's not everybody, but it just seems to be a lot of people like, when I was younger, I liked this, and then I like this, and I like this. And then gradually, as I've got into drinking whiskey for like the 3rd decade, I've just settled down, and I just think bourbon's where it's at. And I'm like, yes. Yeah. So, my pick for the bimber that I like the most is, it's not the bimber that I think's the best. It's the one I like the most. So this is cask 127, bottled for the first ever Southport Whiskey Festival. I think it was the first. This was selected by the members of Southport Whiskey Club, although I did get to try them before they did, and I was just thinking, I hope they pick cask 127. I really hope they do, because if they don't, they're being quite silly here. And so when they came back with 127, I was like,
breathe a sigh of relief.
I do like your cask selection, like little sessions, by the way. I've done one that was brilliant.
Thank you. So it's one of those casks that was one of the early ones that Bimber made when we moved from steel fermenters into wooden washbacks. And the difference between those 2 types of casks is, I wouldn't say it's night and day, but I'd say it's stark. The difference in fermentation, the interaction you're getting, the malolactic fermentation with the bacteria.
Malolactic.
Malolactic, secondary fermentation.
Marketing word.
Science word, but I might market it. with the bacteria that's in the wood, with the wild yeast, the difference in terms of, I'll keep it simple for you, Mike, the fruity flavors is enormous. And so this was one of the first whiskies that we released that was from those custom made wooden washbacks. And yeah, I just find it delightful. It was the first one that we released, first one I tried, and I was like, wow, I'm glad that we spent all the time and the effort to make these wooden washbacks. So that's my pick, because it was a real moment where this Bimber whiskey is quite good. Let's tweak this. Let's do this. Wow. Next, the next step up.
I'm going to push you again though, because you said it's not the best. So I want to know what that is.
I mean, there's two answers to that, as always. Is the best is always.
Don't say all of them. Don't say all of them. That's a cop out. That's a real cop out.
And I'm not going to say that. That's a rubbish answer.
Yeah,
and it simply wouldn't be true. I'm going to say the best one that I've tried, if I take my Bimber hat off and just be me, is possibly cask number 11. So it hasn't been released yet. It's just turned 7 years old. So I've been blathering around on the internet about why Bimber at 7 years old is worth blathering about on the internet for. And yeah, it's just reaching a level of maturity where, again, it's like moving from the steel to the wooden washbacks. It's just the next step up. So, and that doesn't in some way surprise me. This is a 5-year-old whiskey. Okay, this is very decent. 7 is not a youngster anymore.
Is that
old?
At 7 years old? Is it to ask? Is that going to be ex-bourbon as well, or are you gonna do anything with that? You're not decided yet. You can't say. We don't mind either way. I mean, but
I'm going to say we haven't decided, and I can't say. It's not just ex-bourbon. There is some sherry of that age as well. So there's a few casks.
Okay.
I mean, as with every distillery, we could bottle it all up and probably sell it all tomorrow. Happy days, disappear off. But that's not what we're about. We want to see what this tastes like at 7, at 10, at 15, at 20. And so when people are saying, oh, could you do this? Could you do that? The answer is yes. And we will. But if we do it all for you now, we won't have anything left. So are you going to see cask 11? At some point you will.
It's so interesting.
But for people to remember, cask 11, that's all they need to remember. If you're looking out for Bimber releases in the future and you see cask 11, get on it. Now, Matt, just to give you a wee break there for a second, and on the theme of wine casks, I'm just going to share one of the most disappointing whiskies I've ever tried was a 1988 Glenallachie Rioja, 31-year-old. Just totally flat, one of the shortest finishes I've ever had. Not much going on at all, and I think it was like 550 quid a bottle.
Was it finished in Rioja?
No, I think it was entire maturation Rioja. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, right? I'm just saying, because you've got to try these things, haven't you? I think it was part of a tasting set or something. I wasn't the bottle. It was just.
I was going to say, you don't have to try it for that price.
No, it was part of a tasting set.
Try it. I'd be fuming.
So we thought we'd mix it up a little bit. You mentioned that you're really into to horror films. So just in case anybody listening isn't, I like horror films, by the way. My wife and I, if we have to choose a film to watch together, we would sit down and watch a horror movie most of the time. And it does get really hard to find new good horror movies to watch. Ooh. And you have to watch a lot of bad horror movies to find any good ones.
Are you into cult horror movies, Matt, or is it like mainstream?
All of them. No,
okay.
No, I wouldn't. Some are mainstream, but a lot of what I'm watching is veritable B-movie stuff or undiscovered, or all of it.
I haven't said this to Duncan before, but my father-in-law works in the sort of film world and is a producer, and he works for a company called 4 Digital Media, and they are cult horror, should we say, to say the least. I think one of the latest releases was Night of the Killer Bears, and it's Ted meets Terrifier. I feel like it might be right up your street. It's out there.
Matt's actually got up off his chair to go and get the. He's gone to get the poster off the wall
to go get my bear.
He's going to get the poster of the bear and the bear to get it signed. So what's been, what have you watched recently? You've been like, you've got to watch this if you're into horror.
All right. So my most recent pick, and it's still a few months old because, as we've all agreed, most horror films are naff.
Yeah.
But that's the love of horror films, watching loads and loads of naff to get to the gems. My gem at the minute, I think it's about a year or so old, but I watched it fairly recently. It's a film called Barbarian.
Right. Okay.
And it's one of those where the environment is frankly the horror. And it's a house. It's people stuck in a house, but it's smart. It's witty. It's not quite as good as Get Out, which I've seen Get Out. Is one of the best horror films of the last decade. But yeah, Barbarian is an amazing film. Another pick from a couple of years ago by Brandon Cronenberg, who is David Cronenberg's son,
a beer maker.
Good pedigree.
Horror films.
Yeah.
He made a film called
I can think of 1664 reasons to watch it. Go on.
Possessor.
Possessor.
Possessor, which is a fascinating sci-fi horror film following his father's body horror stock about an alternative future where the technology exists that you can enter other people's minds, and so it has been adopted by shady government agencies to conduct hits so that the person possesses another person's body, uses it to kill someone, then kills himself, and there is absolutely no trail of that hit happening. And their most successful assassin, who's been doing it for years, unfortunately has been doing it so much that she starts to confuse who she is and who she is in, and it's an amazing sci-fi horror film. So
I've written both of those two down. I haven't seen those. Obviously, I've seen Get Out, obviously, right?
At the other end of the spectrum, a few nights ago, I watched Halloween Ends, and I'm glad it did because it was totally naff, utterly naff.
Halloween, it finally ends. Part 2,
but does it? It does.
No,
part
it's
2,
part 2
to be continued.
The thing with horror is there's so many subgenres in horror, isn't it? But generally speaking, most of them have very predictable plots. It's the ones where maybe they catch you out and they manage to evoke some kind of fear or scariness or just put you on edge a bit. They're the ones that really bring the magic, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Mike's holding up a bottle of, is it Apogee? How'd you pronounce it?
Apogee.
Yeah.
I'm putting Matt.
It's quite a hip hop name, that one, isn't it? Apogee.
Lovely bottle.
So Apogee will be
we could do a rap for it for your marketing if you want.
Yeah.
Your
Let's
songs
get
are
ready
legendary,
to Apogee.
guys. I don't know about that.
Mike's got such dry humour.
So Apogee's been out of stock for a little while. We sold out all of the original 20-odd thousand bottles, which is great.
That's a big run, isn't it? 20,000.
It's not bad. It's not. It was really, really popular in Europe. Loved it. I got a little bit fed up with people saying, not just is it Apogee, is it Apogee, and I said, it's Apogee. And they're like, okay, but what's ICSI? I say, what?
Right, the number.
What's ICSI? And I'm like, it's not ICSI. That's 12. So long story short, honestly.
You're going to put 12 on the label next time.
Yeah, we've got some new ones coming, and we're going to just put 12 on it because I'm tired of ICSI.
Yeah, well, amazing. That's a shame, isn't it? But that's what happens these days. You know, people just don't. People just don't understand stuff anymore.
Was that your way of getting Bimber out there? We touched on flippers earlier. Is that your way of getting the spirit out there to everyone?
Well, this is a blended whiskey, isn't it?
No, because it's not our whiskey.
Is it not?
Yeah, it's just a port. Is there no Bimber in there? No, it's just it's a marketed bottle. Mike,
didn't know that.
Supposed to be a fanboy. Yeah, unbelievable.
Source malt.
Go into it.
Source. You didn't read the label, which just proves to me that most of my job writing things is pointless. It's sourced malt.
Aged in ex-Bimber casks.
That we have blended into a recipe that we are happy with, and then we've matured it in ex-Bimber, ex-bourbon casks. Which, what I wished we'd done is just saved some of the original recipe and just provided it in special packs with a miniature.
Yeah.
Because people say, well, how much influence has finishing in Bimber casks have? And massive. The color, the aroma, the spice, massive, absolutely massive difference. But no, so it's not really getting Bimber out there because it's not Bimber. as a distillery, we do not make that much. We only make 50,000 LPA a year, barrel a day. We need to get out into the market. We need revenue to expand and enlarge. Once Dunfale in Scotland is finished and up and running and all on its way, we are back to looking at moving Bimber. Not far, ideally as close to where we are now, but in a premises that's bigger. So we do need revenue for that.
What are people,
We do need
Matt? What are
revenue
people
for
going to
that.
do? What are people going to do if they need to get their car fixed at the same time and they're swinging by the distillery? That's so unthoughtful of you.
I know. I'm so sorry.
You're not thinking about the customers with damaged cars.
Equally, there was an iconic site outside the distillery for several years of the burnt out car, which you knew at Bimber. And even that's gone now. They finally moved it. No, I read online a few people saying, "Oh, they're doing it because they need the money to fund Dunfale," and I haven't responded to that. But no, that would be money laundering. Dunfale is, although myself and Darius are involved, it is a completely separate distillery, and you can't raise money from one and just sort of pass it under the table to the other.
No, and I guess
that's not how the real world works.
Your money raising there, well, not solely, but you've got the Darve Away. Don't know if you want to touch on those.
Yeah. So they're
beautiful labels. Beautiful labels on those, by the way.
Thank you.
Really, I think that is definitely part of what's, like, they're just stunning. So I think that goes a long way to making people really want to try the whiskey. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Because it's just beautiful artwork.
No, it's people, for better or worse, people do drink with the eye, and certainly when they're looking on shelves, looking to make a decision, you need to stand out. So no, thank you guys. So the Darve Away is my little project, and it raises some money for Dunfale, but it's primarily there to raise the profile of Dunfale. We won't have whiskey there for years. I'm not going to tell you about my wood policy for Dunfale yet, because I'm going to write a blog post all about it, so I won't spoil it. But effectively, you're not going to see sort of really young 3-year-old Dunfale whiskey. I don't think. I think we're going to be sitting a little bit longer to get exactly what we're looking for from that setup and from the floor malting that we're doing there. But equally, we do need people to know that we're there. We want people to visit. We want people to come and see us. We need to start building the brand. And so the Darve Away is really to do that. And it raised a bit of money, but let's be clear. I know that I almost signed off on 1.8 million paper clips for you guys.
Yeah, I was going to say you shut down our Funka independent bottling.
I didn't. No, I didn't. I was happy to put trees.
It was an unreasonable
like
share.
Bonsai trees. I know.
Bonsai trees into the bottles.
I think there's something there.
Probably. Bonsai trees in bottles.
There's something there for Instagram. I would say if you are new to independent bottling, such as we are, we're an odd one. You get bottlers who are opening distilleries. I think we're the only distillery who've started the bottling operation. But I would say to you guys, in all honesty, there's sod all money in it.
Right.
If you are Gordon MacPhail, Adelphi, Scotch Malt Whisky Society, if you are playing the long game and you're sitting on thousands and thousands of casks that you have bought from Spirit, absolutely,
easy.
there is business and money to be made. If you are a bottler who is buying, effectively, as I'd say, hand to mouth, you are buying casks that are ready to go or almost ready to go, and you're manipulating or not, and then bottling. The amount of money that there is available to make is a lot lower than a lot of people think. A lot of people think that it's just, and they think it's easy. No. Well, you just find a cask of whiskey. I like this, bottle it.
I've looked at doing independent bottling, and the red tape alone.
I haven't, and I'm not, because I just enjoy drinking.
No,
I wrote a blog post on this, and I basically sort of start my introductory paragraph basically saying, right, I've just launched an independent bottler. I now need to go into therapy.
Yeah.
It is, and I've learned a lot. But it is bloody difficult.
If you want to raise capital, I would suggest it's probably better to open a doggy daycare centre. Just be creaming it in, 45 quid a day, 40, 50 dogs turning up, 2 to 3 staff.
Give them a whiskey each, level it.
Yeah,
I mean,
whiskey for the staff, and they'll be away, right?
As I said at the beginning, I earn a lot less now. I've moved into whiskey, so you should do what I do and is start an OnlyFans. That's where the money's at.
I love it.
I think we've probably chatted so long today that we probably are in danger of running into two-parter. So we will find we could do that. We could split this into 2 parts and put it out there for people. First part and the second part.
Yeah, mate. I think that's a really good idea. So what I'll do, if we cut it there, I'll make sure I edit this down. We'll split it up into 2 parts. So this will be part 1. So thanks for listening today, guys. And yeah, stay tuned. We'll let you know when part 2 is coming out. And yeah, we'll catch you on the next one.